The Ring begins with two high schoolers, Katie and Becca, sitting around, probably talking about boys and makeup or something.
Any idea how many electro rays are traveling through our head every second?
I got a better one. Have you heard about this videotape that kills you when you watch it?
Oh, well, my apologies. Okay. I guess I just have zero idea what girls talk about sleepovers.
What kind of tape?
A tape. A regular tape. People run it, I don't know. You start to play it, and it's like somebody's nightmare.
And now I know the kids are scared right now, but that's okay. I'm here. You see, a videotape was a device we used to record things off the TV so we could watch them later. But it's all right. It can't hurt you anymore. Becca tells Katie that the tape was like watching someone's nightmare. Ooh, I bet it shows someone in their house, but it's not their house. But like you can tell they know that it actually is their house. You know, like the layout isn't anything like their house, but it still represents their house. Am I saying this right? So now, it's like if their actual house was a 2-story house, right? But in the nightmare, it's a ranch-style house. But you know that it's actually supposed to be their house. Maybe I'm not explaining it correctly. You see,
Their phone rings, and what they say is, you will die in 7 days.
Katie immediately freaks out and says that she and her boyfriend Josh watched the tape a week ago at a cabin in the mountains.
You were with Josh all
Some of his
weekend?
friends got this place up in the mountains. They were trying to record a football game.
Oh man, that is scary. Yeah, you heard her right. We used to record sporting events. And according to every sitcom ever made, we would get so mad after our wives taped over the big game. Oh, we were going to watch that after work.
This is so mean. Every residence.
Okay, now kids, don't freak out. I know this is terrifying, but this is what's known as a landline phone. It was like a cell phone, except it didn't have any apps, and it was always attached to your house. Oh, and if you had multiple phones, your brothers could listen in on your phone calls and make fun of you about it later. So the call is just from Katie's mom, but after she hangs up, the TV turns on by itself. Children, settle down. I know that your minds are reeling right now, but listen, this is just white noise. New TVs don't have this. Older TVs had antennas that would pick up everything that falls within their frequency, and that would cause your television to try to interpret anything that wasn't a signal and display it on the screen anyways. And some of that interference is cosmic rays generated from the Big Bang. And so actually, now that I think of it, a signal from the beginning of the universe is actually more terrifying than any videotape. Katie turns off the TV, but it turns back on, and so she runs upstairs to find Becca. And now as far as horror movie intros go, Scream is the undisputed king, but I gotta say, The Ring has to be a close second. We then cut to 3 days later when we meet Rachel Keller, who was Katie's aunt. Rachel is played by Naomi Watts, and after doing a video on Children of the Corn 4, I felt compelled to watch Naomi in a movie that was actually good. Rachel is a single mother raising her son Aidan, who's begun drawing some disturbing things. Rachel says that he's just working through his cousin's death, but his teacher says that he began drawing them a week ago.
So you know when I'm going to die? Katie knew. She told me.
Katie told you she was gonna die?
She said she didn't have enough time. Good night, Rachel.
Yeah. There's been a long history of weird kids in movies, but Aidan is at the top of that list of the freaking weirdest. He's up there with that kid from The Babadook and the girl from Hereditary. It comes time for the funeral, and we learn that Katie's heart stopped, but for some reason her parents opted for a closed casket. Rachel's sister Ruth tells her that the doctors are baffled, and she wants Rachel to investigate her death, and we get one of the most effective jump scares of all time.
Her face.
Like, it's right up there with that Bilbo Baggins scene. I'm not going to show that one, because that will give people nightmares. Aidan goes up to Katie's room, and I understand they were family and all, but I would be severely creeped out having this kid roaming around my house. Ugh. All I'm saying is that if I ever had to babysit a kid like Aidan, I would do it from my car in the driveway and check in by way of messenger kids. Rachel finds Katie's notebook and looks through it, but I'm sure it's filled with like pictures of ponies and her boyfriend Josh's name in bubble letters or some shit. Oh, wow. Okay, you know what? This movie is really shattering stereotypes about teenage girls. I am sorry, ladies. I had no idea your lives were so dark. And Rachel finds a stub for a photo processing store and, geez. All right, kids, you better sit down for this one. This is the scariest one of all. So Katie had taken pictures with a camera before she died, and that camera had something called film in it. And she took that film to the photo processing store. And now Rachel has to take this ticket to a physical location where Katie had dropped off the film to have it developed, or transformed into a stack of pictures that you could look through. You didn't really share these pictures with strangers, and no one would comment things like, OMG, so cute, heart emoji. And if you did show someone, they would just inwardly cringe as they silently flipped through the whole stack in just pained silence. It was a hellish time. The pictures are of Katie's weekend with Josh and his friends at the cabin, and when Rachel tries to find the other three, she learns that Josh jumped to his death from the 7th floor of his apartment, and the other two died in a one-car accident. So they were in a car. So does a TV not have to be part of this? Or, oh god, even more frightening, were Josh's friends watching one of these bad boys while they were in the car? The screen was so tiny. We learned that all 4 kids died at the exact same time on the same night. Rachel goes to her office at the local newspaper, the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, and this movie isn't that old, is it? What was it, 2002? Oh my god, this movie's old enough to drink. Why did I think this was only like 10 years old? Alright kids, so a newspaper is how people got yesterday's news, and you had to go out to where your mailbox is to get it. But the comics section on Sunday mornings was pretty dope. Rachel finds a picture with the name of the campground they stayed at, and goes to investigate the cabin. And at the checkout desk, there's a VHS lending library, and Rachel notices a mysterious blank tape, and she rents Cabin 12 and watches it. The tape begins with a ring, and then devolves into all kinds of weird and random imagery, and it ends with a shot of a well. And immediately after, the phone rings.
7 days, or should I say, 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head in your eyes, said I'm so angry. Holding down what the hood wing, and make it stop think. You think I'm looking at Aquaman. I saw my face to the digital electronic shooter, so let's switch to never touch a fine man. Hot like what's up on about France, look like the end runs, because I'm all about value. I'm just kidding. This is your boy Toby. Samara had to go to Denver real quick, because 7 days ago, Janie Westfield had a sleepover, and so 8 girls watched this video. So Samara is a little busy because they are scattered. One of the girls is visiting her aunt in Montreal, so Samara has her hands full. But, she'll kill you in 7 days. See ya.
Rachel goes back home and her ex Noah comes over, and she shows him the tape, and Noah doesn't believe her, but he asks her to make him a copy of the tape and a look into finding out who made it. She makes a copy and takes it to Noah's apartment, and he is a major AV geek.
The numbers of the control track, they're put on the tape whenever it's recorded, which means, theoretically, there shouldn't be any images. Okay, when you record a tape, the makeup of the tracks is like a signature for whatever did the recording, like a camcorder, VCR, whatever. So the control track could tell us where it came from.
Yeah, kids, I'm with you on this one. I don't know the ins and outs of VHS tapes like this dude, so I don't know what the hell he's talking about. And they adjust the tracking and notice a lighthouse at the edge of the frame. We then get to Sunday, day 4, and Rachel is doing research in the library and finds the exact lighthouse from the video, and it's on Moesco Island. Now you're probably asking yourself, why didn't she just use the internet to find that lighthouse? Well, you see, back then the internet was stored locally on each individual computer, so you could only research all the information that would fit on your computer. Luckily for Rachel, her local internet was nothing but information on Moesco Island. Oh, that's lucky. And in one of the pictures, she notices the woman from the tape, and she finds out her name is Anna Morgan, and Anna later committed suicide because she was having hallucinations. Oh no, now that poor girl from the tape is going to be haunted by Aidan. The phone immediately rings and she hangs up, and when it rings again, it's Noah, and he says that he believes her about the tape, and we learn that Aidan is Noah's son. So time is running out and we get to day 6, and Rachel goes to investigate Moesco Island. And on the ferry, a horse really freaks out.
Hey, boy. I'm not gonna hurt you.
And I always like how animals in these movies can always sense when there's evil present. I'd like them to do that, but with just like a random passerby named Doug. You get close to him or ask the time or something, and Doug just flips the hell out. And I'm not going to show you what happens to this horse, but just imagine Doug jumping overboard and getting chopped up by the propeller. And Rachel makes it to the Morgan farm and meets Richard Morgan, played by the legend Brian Cox. And she pretends she's writing a story about the horses that died, and she notices that most of the images from the tape are from the house. She tells him about the tape and he makes her leave. And she calls Aidan, who tells Rachel that the little girl shows him things.
Little girl. She talks to you?
No. She shows me things.
God, I can imagine a 5-minute phone call with Aidan would just put you in a depressed funk for like 8 hours. Like, what a weirdo. Rachel goes to see the local doctor and asks if she knows anything about the Morgan's daughter. And she tells Rachel that the Morgan showed up one day with Samara, and soon after, Anna started having hallucinations and she blamed their daughter. Rachel goes back to the Morgan house, but no one is there, and she learns that Richard put Samara in a psychiatric hospital because she wouldn't stop showing him and Anna disturbing images. And then he electrocutes himself because he knows that Samara will never stop. They go to investigate the barn and find out that that's where Samara's room was. And what was Samara so angry about? She had her own private loft. It's like every kid's dream. You could stay up as late as you want. They find a burned etching of a tree on the wall, and Rachel recognizes it from the one at Shelter Mountain. And on her final day, she and Noah head back to cabin 12, and they notice an indentation in the floor. They are not getting their deposit back. Although apparently a deleted scene shows that the camp is closed because the camp owner watched the tape and is now dead. Why wouldn't they keep that? I like that. And under the floor, they find the well from the video, and Rachel falls in, just like poor little Timmy O'Toole.
And we're sending our love down the well. All the way down. We're sending our love down the well. Down that well.
Samara grabs her and shows Rachel a vision of Anna murdering her and dumping her body in the well. But she didn't die right away, and the ring is from the sunlight poking through the cover as it's being placed over the top of the well. So Rachel has found Samara's body and alerts authorities, and the 7-day time limit has come and gone for Rachel, and she realizes that Samara survived for 7 days down there. So they go back to Rachel's apartment and... Seriously with this kid? Oh, don't touch him. He's obviously playing possum. His eyes are gonna pop open. Yeah, that was terrifying. The next day, Rachel tells Aidan that they helped recover Samara's body, and of course this drama queen over here tells her that she shouldn't have helped Samara at all. And at Noah's apartment, the TV turns on, and in an amazing bit of CGI for this movie that is apparently 60 years old, Samara crawls out of the TV and kills him. Rachel shows up and freaks out and runs back to her place and has no idea why Samara skipped her. Rachel realizes that Aidan watched a copy of the tape that she made, and she realizes that Samara wants to be heard, and so Rachel has Aidan make a copy of the tape to spread it to someone else.
What about the person we show it to? What happens to them?
I love horror movies that have questions like this. They can spark good conversation. So honestly, I want to know, if this was you, who are you giving this tape to? Are you giving it to someone you hate? Are you giving it to someone you trust and telling them to make a copy? Like, how are we ending this scourge? Sound off in the comments down below. And as always, keep reaching for the stars. I'm sorry, I'm trying a new send-off and that sucked.